is going to be this time. And that's totally unknown territory.
Very insightful, sir. It's going to be very disruptive politically, right? I mean, that's what the French Revolution was about. French Revolution was about inflation at its core. People were suffering.
That's right. So that's the concern. To me, $10,000 gold is a relatively conservative estimate, because if I was reluctant to do projections like this in the future and so on and so forth, but when I listened to the debt ceiling debate in 2011, it became crystal clear that the debt situation wasn't going to get resolved. Doesn't matter who was in power or what they were going to do. There's no political will to make a decent dent in it. So the debt is going to keep accelerating, and the relationship between U.S. debt and the price of gold is almost a perfect correlation. I've got a chart of that in the book.
Let's talk about the bail-in scenario, and you wrote about this, and I'm glad you did, because you wrote all about it. And a lot of people are holding up this Canadian economic plan in a couple of specific pages. I think it's 144 and 145, where they talk about, taking other assets and not putting this off on the taxpayers. And, of course, you vault your gold at Soshimokata Bank, and you wrote a piece about this, saying, talking about the bail-in scenario specifically with you. You're in Canada. I'm talking to you. You're in Toronto. But you wrote a piece about this. Are they going to be able to take people's allocated gold accounts and get a bail-in?
See, what you've just said is where the confusion lies.
Good. I'm the right guy.
As an allocated account. And this is where people, particularly in Switzerland, they open up a precious metals account, gold, silver, platinum. It's an account. It's no different than a cash account. When you have a cash account, you've basically given the bank your money, and they promise to give it back to you. They're not holding it in trust. It's no longer your money. You've given them a loan. And there's plenty of court cases in the U.S. that establish that point. So it's not your gold. It's not your money. The bank owes you the money or the gold, as it may be. And what just happened in ABN AMRO, where they apparently refused to give the client gold. Well, he never owned any gold. The bank, he had an IOU with the bank, and if you read the fine print on those agreements, they have the right to settle in cash. And given that it's the bank's money, if the central bank or the government passes legislation that says, 10% or do whatever, then they can. But when you have bullion, there's two very important stages, which we've got another article on that, which gives you a checklist and so on. But stage one is you have to buy the gold and have title transferred to you. You can't buy an allocated account. It doesn't exist. You buy the bullion first, and just like a car, a boat, a house, the asset is specifically detailed. In the case of bullion bars, you have the refiner, the serial number, the exact weight, and the exact purity.
Just like an automobile where you have the vehicle identification number, the make, the model, the year, same thing.
Yeah, you have to have those things to be able to transfer title. And usually there's representations from the seller and so on and so forth. So that's stage one. Okay, by having an account that says you've got, 1,324 ounces is not owning gold. You can't own ounces. You can only own bars. Okay? So that's step one that is missing. Once you own the bullion, you have to enter into an allocated custodial agreement. Okay? That's not an account. It's an agreement where the custodian agrees to hold on to your bars, and it sets out what he can and can't do with the bars without your permission.
And this is where you come in. This is where your expertise is.
Right. And this costs more, and that's where people have looked at that it's cheaper to buy gold through an account. But the point of it is they're not getting any gold. and the storage fees are minimal. There's virtually no premium over the spot price. That's what's attracted people. But the banks don't have to have any gold, and if there happens to be a problem with the bank from a solvency point of view, you're at the bottom of the creditor pile.
So you're saying when it comes to BMG, you have clear title gold in an allocated account, game, set, match, no bail-in, not in play, no way.
We have to clarify it and so on. You can only have an unallocated account. So in our mutual fund, we have unallocated accounts because that's where the day-to-day transactions occur. Because one day you could have $10,000 coming in, another day you could have $1 million. So to facilitate the fact that we're not buying bars on a day-to-day basis in the fund, we have an unallocated account. We keep very little of the bullion in the unallocated account, about 1%. Because once the number of ounces accumulate in the unallocated account, we then has Scotia to deliver bars into custodial storage.
Got it.
So they debit the unallocated account, and they give us a new list of bars that are in storage. And you can see the bars on our website. We list all the bars that are in storage. And Scotia gives us a monthly report on that. So there's those kind of factors. And like I say, in our latest article, we've tried to make it perfectly clear that you have to own the bullion in the first place.
Got it. I got it.
You have to have a custodial agreement, ideally with an LBMA member for maximum liquidity. But then it's your bullion. It doesn't form part of the assets of the custodian. Nobody can have a claim to it, and so on. So they're not going to start confiscating people's assets. But in terms of bank accounts and so on, that's not your asset in the first place.
So you think bail-ins in Canada, U.S., Europe, you think they're going to have? I mean, that's what they're talking about in Europe now, and they've already got this Canadian economic plan. You think they're going to take people's cash, people's money? That's going to happen.
Well, the thing is that if a bank was to become insolvent, right, then what happens is the assets are liquidated to the creditors in due course, and as a bank depositor, you have an insured component, which varies per country, but let's call it 100,000.
Yeah.
This is uninsured. For the uninsured amount, you're an unsecured creditor, and typically there's nothing left for the unsecureds. So it doesn't matter whether it's a local currency account, a foreign currency account, a precious metals account. They're all unsecured, uninsured amounts.
And you think bailouts for uninsured amounts are going to be bye-bye. And what happens, right? Is that right?
Well, this is the way it's been before, central banks were created to give people the illusion that their money is safe. Like when you put money in the bank, you need to look at the solvency and the credit worthiness of the bank, and if your money's at risk or not. Right now, we've got the situation where the interest you're getting paid by the banks isn't worth putting your money at risk in simple terms.
Well, for all the people that have uninsured accounts, what happened in Cyprus was, you have 100,000 euros. And anybody who went to the bank and said, okay, great, I have 100,000 euros in my account. Give me 50,000. Sorry, you can have 300 euros today. I mean, that's kind of an illusion too, isn't it? I mean,